Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we'll go over the 6-game NBA slate for today on Draftkings. And I do apologize for no video yesterday. That's my day off from doing NBA videos. I do my NBA spreadsheet every day, but it's really busy with football going on Sunday, so that's the day I take off from NBA videos. But we are back on Monday, and I am looking forward to this slate. It's a pretty good one. We got two really good games, Minnesota versus Brooklyn and Portland versus Phoenix, so that's going to be a main portion of my lineups as of right now. But before we continue, if you guys could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And if you're interested in the spreadsheet about every single night for the NBA season, links in the description below for my Patreon, my projections, my cheat sheets, my defense first position chart, my Discord chat. It's been a very good NBA season, so if you guys want to join, just hit the link in the description below. It'll take you right there. It's pretty simple. And without further ado, let's get into today's slate. And I swear, every time I talk about Giannis, the guy does not end up starting, so I will keep it short. You guys get the deal with Giannis. If he plays, he's a good play just because he is obviously a fantasy beast. And I will say he missed the last two games versus some really bad teams. I believe it was Atlanta and Orlando. So, I mean, they were just fine without Giannis. They won no problem. And he also gets another below-average team against Chicago. So we'll see. Maybe they just hold him out again until we get a competitive, like a projected competitive game. But again, no idea if he's going to play. He's considered questionable with back soreness. We'll see. But if he does play, you guys get the whole ordeal. He's a point-per-minute god, averaging 1.9 points per minute, which is by far the highest in the league. I believe Luka's second at 1.75. So Giannis at 1.9, which is absolutely insane. He has a 38% usage rate, and this is an elite matchup versus Chicago, who is 30th versus power forwards. If he plays, he should eat. Now, the problem is I could very easily see Milwaukee blowing Chicago out of the water here, and then Giannis could only end up playing like 25 minutes, considering he's dealing with back soreness anyway. So, I would say there's some risk there, and if he does end up playing, I don't think he's like a lock by any means. Does he have the best chance of outscoring anybody on the slate? Yes, I would fight a bet money on someone being the highest scorer on the slate. It's going to be Giannis, but there's some blowout potential. I don't think the Vegas odds are out yet. I'm doing this video a lot earlier than usual. It's actually the night before, which I usually do it in the morning of. So Vegas lines aren't out for most games yet, but Giannis, again, if he plays and he gets 30-plus minutes, he's going to be a good play, but there's factors we're going to have to wait on into the morning or just the afternoon to wait on Giannis news. Trae Young's going to be out. Karl-Anthony Towns at 10,000, kind of like Giannis. He has not been playing recently, but, I mean, obviously they're both fantastic players, but Karl-Anthony Towns, he's dealing with that left sprained knee, missed the last 6 games, so I guess they're not really bringing him back until he's fully ready to go, which, I don't blame them. Karl-Anthony Towns is their superstar, so I do want to keep him healthy. And as I've been saying, if he plays, he's a tremendous play for DFS, but again, I don't know if he's going to play, so I'm not going to just sit here and tell you he's going to play. I don't know, and you guys don't know either. I'm not even sure Karl-Anthony Towns knows. But this is one of the better games of the night for fantasy purposes. I'm going to want to get a lot of players from this game and the Portland versus Phoenix game. Maybe more so the Portland versus Phoenix game, but this one's a solid game as well. And again, there's no total at the time of me recording this, but I do imagine it'll be high. It's either going to be the highest total or it's going to be the second highest total. It's going to be either this or the Phoenix game. Not sure yet, but it's a pretty good game environment. Both teams play very fast. Minnesota is the fastest pace of play team in the NBA right now, and then Brooklyn is 7th. So both teams are top 10 in pace of play, and neither teams are that great defensively either. And Brooklyn really does struggle with big men, ranking 26th versus centers. And earlier in the year, we saw, I think it was like the second game of the year. It's either first or second. It might have been first. I can't remember off the top of my head, but either way, Towns dropped like 80 points versus them. I believe it went into overtime, though, so that helped a little bit, but still, he absolutely smashed. And on the year, he has a 29% usage rate, averaging 1.55 points per minute. If Karl-Anthony Towns gets 35 minutes in this game, I think he's a tremendous play at 10K, and you get a little bit of savings off of Giannis as well. But again, first game coming off of injury, so we'll see. So these guys are a little bit risky, and they're by no means core plays for me. Because I really do like a lot of guys in the mid-range on today. I won't keep wanting to say tomorrow because it's 11 here, but on today's slate. Because by the time you guys are watching this, it's going to be today. Let's see. Just one on the list. Andre Drummond, not a lot of interest there. Bradley Beal, he's questionable. Either way, I don't like the matchup versus Miami either, so I'm really not going to look to play Bradley Beal even if he is, I want to say active, but it's just me listening, used to being in NFL. If he's available to play, I should say. John Collins, not a lot of interest there versus Orlando, even though Trae Young's off the court. But Damian Lillard, I like Damian Lillard quite a bit here at 8,500. I think he's one of the better plays of the night, in my opinion. He also doesn't break the bank either at 8,500. We know the guy's got 60-point upside. I will say every time I play Damian Lillard, he gets like 30 points. So you guys have been warned. Like if we just look at the game log, I played him versus New Orleans. He had 34 points, less than a point per minute. And then I played him versus Phoenix. This is the same matchup he gets again. He only had 35 points. He did get into some early foul trouble in that game, but he still played 37 minutes, so it didn't matter. I mean, he got the full he got a full allotment of minutes. Still only 35 fantasy points, but I do think he'll have a better game this time out. And this should be a pretty good game for fantasy purposes. As of right now, this is the highest total on the slate. We have a 231 total. Again, this could change by tomorrow. Maybe that Minnesota game is a little bit higher. But I have a feeling this one's going to be the highest on the slate. And we have also two not very good defensive teams. So this should lead to some pretty high scoring fantasy totals for some players, and both teams are also top 12 in pace of play. Phoenix plays a little bit faster. Portland, I believe, is 12th in pace, and then Phoenix, I believe, is 7th if I remember correctly. So should be a pretty up-tempo game. And this is a very good matchup versus Phoenix, who struggles with point guards. They're ranked 22nd versus the position. And Lillard's averaging 1.27 points per minute, near a 29% usage rate. So I think Lillard's one of the top spend-ups on the slate. And again, he doesn't break the bank. So that's what I'm saying. You don't have to pay top dollar for Giannis or Karl Anthony Towns if he ends up playing, because you got guys like Damian Lillard at 8,500 who have similar upside. Maybe not as consistently as their upside. He's not going to score 60-plus points most of the time. He can flirt with 50 on most nights, but Karl Anthony Towns and Giannis obviously have much better 60-plus point potential. But he's also only 8,500. I do think he's a pretty tremendous play on this slate. Scrolling down the list here, Chris Middleton. If Giannis is out, you could look his way 8,100. He's priced up, so he's no longer like just a plug and play if Giannis is out. But past 3 games, he's been great. 51, that was with Giannis playing, but then 43 versus Atlanta, 40 versus Orlando. And with Giannis off the court, he's averaging 1.36 points per minute, 33% usage rate. If Giannis is out, yeah, he's a pretty good play at 8,100, but not like a plug and play, that price tag. Scrolling on the list a little bit. Jimmy Butler, he's one of my favorite plays of the night, just as of right now. I mean, it's an awesome matchup versus Washington, and he's only 7,800, so this is just a little bit too cheap for Jimmy Butler. I thought his price would come up after his 2 good games. He had 40 points versus Indy and 55 points in a tough matchup versus Philly. Price did not come up, though, and he's just simply too cheap, and I feel like he's going to end up being a core play for me tonight. And I will say, he had 2 nice games in a row, like I just said. And before that, he was on a little bit of a skid, 36, 34, 32, 43, 44 is not bad, but he was also priced in the 9K range. Then 38, 61 is great, 43. So a little bit of a rough patch right here. He's fine right here, but a little bit of a rough patch. But 7,800 is just way too cheap. And he's facing Washington, so sign me up. I mean, they're just a straight dumpster fire defensively. They're the second worst defensive team right now for fantasy points given up just in general. And they also rank 23rd versus shooting guards and 26th versus small forwards. So it's a great matchup individually for Jimmy Butler as well. And this is a nice pace-up spot for Miami too, as Washington is 5th in pace of play. And these Washington games always tend to be high-scoring because they are trash on defense. They play at a fast pace. The total's not out yet on this game. I'm assuming that's because Bradley Beal is questionable, but I assume the Miami Heat will have one of, if not the highest implied team total on the slate. Jimmy Butler offers us triple-double upside. He gets the rebounds, he gets the assists, blocks, steals. He gets 20-plus points most nights. So Jimmy Butler, I think he's an awesome play. He's averaging over 1.2 points per minute on the season, 25% usage rate. He's going to play huge minutes. Jimmy Butler, I think he's one of the best plays on the slate. And at 7,800, that's a very fair price. And again, just continuing with this really strong mid-range. So I love I love Damian Lillard. I like Jimmy Butler a lot. Then Spencer Dinwiddie, he's at 7,700, and he's another guy I have a ton of interest here. So, in my opinion, he may be one of the best plays of the night. I mean, you just know what you're going to get with Spencer Dinwiddie. He's one of the safest plays every single night. You're going to get your around 40 points with upside. I know the last game he had 35 and 38, but most nights he's getting you 40-plus points. So if you just look at the game log, 35, 38, 57, 49, 45, 34, 43, 40, 39, 38. The guy's been fantastic without Kyrie Irving or Caris LeVert, and that's going to be the case again, so you can fire him up. Now, they are nearing a return soon. Caris LeVert more so than Kyrie. So the fun may end soon, but I'm going to take advantage of it while we can, and the price dropped as well because he got all the way up to 8,700 at one point. Then he got into 8K the last game. Now he's down to 7,700 as they are. I think pricing him with anticipation of Kyrie and Caris LeVert coming back, but again they're not back yet. So we can play Spencer Dinwiddie with confidence. He's averaging over 1.3 points per minute, 30% usage rate, and this is one of my favorite games of the night. So I definitely want exposure to it. Nice fast-paced game. Both teams are top 7 in pace of play. And Minnesota, just individually, it's a good matchup for Dinwiddie. They suck versus guards. They rank 20th versus point guards. So definitely think you can look Spencer Dinwiddie's way, and I think he's a really good option in the mid-range. And just continuing this really strong mid-range, Bam Adebayo here at 7,600. He's one of the stronger plays on the slate, in my opinion, as well. And he had an absolute garbage game last game. I will say that 40 minutes, had 21 fantasy points. That's half a point per minute. Only had 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Very uncharacteristic game of Bam Adebayo, but it was a very tough matchup versus Philly. They're one of the best defensive teams, and obviously Joel Embiid, it's pretty tough to go against him. So I'll give him a pass here. And it's a much softer matchup here versus Washington. I already said about the game environment. They suck defensively. They play fast. And just individually, they suck versus centers. They rank 20th versus centers, and they have all their starting big men are out. Mo Wagner, Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura. So I think Bam Adebayo can eat down low here. He's averaging over a point per minute this season. I think he's a very strong play with Jimmy Butler. So just attacking the Washington Wizards there pretty much. Devin Booker I don't like too much, but if you are game stacking this game, you can't leave out Devin Booker. We know the guy's got a high ceiling. He also has a lower floor. Like we've seen it, 34 minutes versus Denver, 25 points, 37, 27, 39. He has a lower floor, but he also has a high ceiling too. 44, 54, over 30 real life points the past 2 games. This is a good matchup. Portland's not one of the better defensive teams in the league. They're about mid-pack versus shooting guards. So I don't hate him, but he's not a top target for me. But if you're game stacking it up, I don't hate Devin Booker because he has 50-point upside. Andrew Wiggins is questionable, so we'll talk about if Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns is out. We'll talk about a couple of guys if that's the case, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But Hassan Whiteside at 7,100. Again, this is a really strong mid-range. There's a lot of guys at 7K I like, so I don't think it's necessary to spend top dollar for anyone because we got 40-point upside with guys like Whiteside, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Spencer Dinwiddie. I really like stacking up this mid-range because it's very strong on this slate, and I love Whiteside here. So first off, I will say, someone's got to explain the price to me. He's only 7,100, and this is the lowest price we've seen in a while. If we just look at the 10-game log here, 78, 77, 79, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, kind of high 8s too, 84, 85, then 75 was, 10 games ago. So he is uncharacteristically cheap. I mean, I know earlier in the season he was like in the 6K range, and that was just entirely too cheap, but 7,100, that's just a mispricing. I don't understand it, and if you don't think I'm going to take advantage of this, well, you'd be mistaken because I am for sure. This is an awesome price for Hassan Whiteside. I think he's one of the best plays in the slate. I had not ran my projections yet because I don't run it until usually the morning of, and I usually make my videos the morning of, so I can't tell you how he's going to grade out now. But if I had to imagine, he's going to grade out as a fantastic point per dollar option if I had to guess. And, the minutes are up. Earlier in the season, he was only playing like 25, 28 minutes per game. We're seeing him play about 35 minutes a night. Versus Utah only had 22 minutes, but then 34, 32, 38, 33, 33, 31, 35. The minutes are not an issue anymore, and the guy's been elite on a point per minute basis. He's averaging over 1.3 points per minute, which is awesome for someone that's only 7,100, getting 30 plus minutes per game. Again, this is just a simple mispricing. This is one of the best games of the slate to target for fantasy purposes. It's also the late game at 10 p.m. I assume he's going to be highly owned. And this is an elite matchup versus Phoenix, too. He's bottom 10 versus centers. There is nothing not to like about Hassan Whiteside here. I feel confident tagging him as a core play as of right now, and I think it's safe to assume he's going to be in my main lineup, so unless something changes. But Hassan Whiteside, I think he's a fantastic play on this slate. I know the last time he played Phoenix, actually, it was not that great, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he had 35 points. Did get into some quick foul trouble. I think he had 2 fouls early. Still had 31 minutes, so you really can't complain. Over a point per minute, but you'd expect more, especially when he's 8,100, but he's also 7,100 now, so there's not that much risk to it. Some Whiteside, I think he gets you 40-plus points at a fair price tag. Let's see, scrolling on the list, Kelly Oubre, he had a huge game last time out, 53 fantasy points, 16 boards. That's a little fluky. Not a little fluky, that's very fluky. That's not going to happen most nights. 20 points. The guy's got upside, and again, if you want to game stack this up, I don't have a problem with it, but I don't personally really want to play Kelly Oubre outside of game stacks, like I said. Gorgie Deng, you could look his way if Karl-Anthony Towns is back. He had a rough game versus Cleveland. He only had 5 real-life points, 7 rebounds, and that was pretty disappointing from what he's done recently. I played him, and it sucked. He only had 23 minutes, too. I mean, that was a really low-scoring game, too, 88-94. He just had a really rough game, only 23 minutes, like I said. But before that, 48, 30, 41, 29, 25. He's been very solid with Karl-Anthony Towns being out, so you could look his way. He's been over a point per minute. Brooklyn sucks versus centers. They're bottom 5 in the league, so you could look Gorgie Dang's way. It's just the price. He's priced up to a point where he's no longer a value, and he's got to actually have a really good game for him to be worth it, which I'm not totally confident in. Gary Payton, if Bradley Beal's out, you could look his way. He had another big steal performance, and he's not going to get 6 steals every night, and he's actually done it 2 out of 3 games, but that's a little fluky. I wouldn't count on it, but the past 3 games, 30 minutes, 31, 34, 44 points, 30, 37, the guy's been pretty good for fantasy purposes, so I don't hate him if Bradley Beal's out. It's just a really tough matchup versus Miami, but he's priced to a point as well where he's not like a great value, but he's just more of an okay mid-range play at that point. Joe Ingles, I think he had a huge game last time. Not huge, but 36 points. But he's been very solid. 36, 42, 39, 25. I don't really have too much interest in Joe Ingles, though. Outside of him just filling out your lineup. But let's see. Just want to list some more. You could look Robert Covington's way. I believe he had a pretty good game. He had 37 fantasy points and 35 points the game before that. So if Wiggins is out, again, Robert Covington would be someone that would benefit for sure. He'll get 30-plus minutes, so you can look his way if Andrew Wiggins happens to be out or Karl-Anthony Towns. It just opens up more usage on the court. Brook Lopez, though, again, we don't know who's going to be out. If Giannis is going to be out. But if he is, I like Brook Lopez quite a bit here at 5,900. I think he's going to end up being a very strong play. Chicago is dead last, 30th versus centers. And without Giannis on the court, he's averaging 1.15 points per minute, 23% usage rate. I think Brook Lopez could get you over 30 points, and it's not a bad price either. And it's a great matchup, so I don't hate looking Brook Lopez's way if Giannis happens to be out. Let's see, scrolling on the list. See, I would have interest in these Washington guys, but they are priced up, and it's a tough matchup versus Miami, so I think I'm going to pass for the most part. Ersan Ilyasova at 5,600, so basically this guy turns into the best player in the league when Giannis is out. I don't know what it is, but the guy just never fails as chalk, and no complaints. I play him pretty much, but he's been great. 17 boards, 18 points the first game versus Atlanta. Then versus Orlando, 14 boards, 17 points, 47 fantasy points, 42. The guy's been great, and he's only played 24 and 27 minutes, so he's balling. He's like getting 2 fantasy points per minute, which is amazing. And this is an elite matchup versus Chicago, and without Giannis on the court, he's averaging 1.1 points per minute, and it's a great matchup versus Chicago. Now, is he priced up a little bit, 5,600? Yeah, but if he's going to get me 35-plus points at 5,600, I'll take it. So, you would have some interest in Ersan, but again, as of right now, you have no idea if Giannis is going to play. Eric Bledsoe, I kind of skipped over him, but I do want to talk about him. He's at 5,700, and he would be a solid play if Giannis is out, because if Giannis is out, I ran the numbers, he's averaging 1.41 points per minute and a 33% usage rate. Those are elite numbers. Now, I will say the matchup sucks versus Chicago. They actually rank number 1 versus point guards, but it's just, the Bucks are so good. I think he'll be fine. 5,700 as long as Giannis is out. If Giannis is in, no thank you. So, again, that's just contingent on Giannis news. You could look Jeff Teague's way if Wiggins and Towns are out, because actually with those guys both off the court, he's actually averaging 1.31 points per minute, which is great, and a 27% usage rate. The minutes haven't been great, but I would think he's a safe bet for over 25 minutes and over 25 fantasy points, so I wouldn't hate Jeff Teague. I think he'd be an okay play. You could also look at Taurean Prince, just because I like him in fast-paced matchups. The game I played him, he sucked. He had 14 points, was 1 for 10 from 3. Next game, 4 for 8, had 29 fantasy points. I think that's more along the lines of what you could expect versus Minnesota. Houston was a fast-paced game, and he did pretty well, and I think he could do it again versus Minnesota. So I don't mind Taurean Prince just as a lineup filler, not going out of my way to fit in Taurean Prince. Let's see. On the list, you could look at some of these guards for Miami just because it's exposure versus Washington, but I don't have a ton of interest. I know Dragic had a good game in the last one out, but not core plays. I don't want to talk about everyone on this slate, so I'll just save you the time there. I think they're okay. Aaron Baines at 4,900, not the worst play in the world. Not a core play, but you could look his way. He's been pretty disappointing, I will say. He's going to get about 30 minutes. He's 30 minutes, 28, 30, 32. He's going to get you about 30 minutes. He's been over a point per minute this season at 1.05. It's a good game environment, good matchup versus Portland. They're ranked 27th versus centers. I wouldn't hate looking his way just as a last piece fit. He's not someone I'm starting my lineups with by any means, so don't hate him. George Hill, if Giannis is out, you could look his way, but Eric Bledsoe being back hurts his value. Upside. Shabazz Napier, you could look his way as well, but the minutes have came down from that one start he got. But it's a good matchup versus Brooklyn. They suck versus point guards. Let's see, scrolling down the list some more. Tyler Hero, again, if you just want exposure to some of these Miami guards versus Washington, I don't hate it. He's been okay the past 3 games, 23, 26, 30. You could look his way if you just want exposure. But I kind of just want to play Jimmy Butler and call it a wrap. From the Heat, well, I guess, and Bam Adebayo. Going down the list some more here. I know there's a couple of guys I want to talk about. So Christian Wood, yeah, it's the guy I've been waiting for. So he's 3,800, and I actually think he's going to be one of the better value plays. Now, again, I have not ran my projections. Usually I have my value plays. I just click value, and they pop up for me. I have not ran them yet. But Christian Wood, he should be a solid play. Kennard's out. Griffin's out. Markieff Morris is out. So Wood should get over 25 minutes here. Maybe he flirts with 30. And running the numbers with them off the court, he's averaging 1.11 points per minute with a 21.2% usage rate. And the guy's got upside as well. Versus Washington, he saw 24 minutes, 36 fantasy points. The guy's pretty good when he gets minutes, and this is a game where he's going to get minutes. So you got to like Christian Wood here. The matchup is not great at all, but we can't be too picky at this price tag at 3,800. So I do think he's a pretty solid value play on this slate. And then I believe there's one more guy. So you can look at Culver's way only if Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns are out. Did see 24 minutes last game versus Cleveland. He did draw the start over Jeff Teague, which I thought was a little weird, but 19 fantasy points at 3,200 wasn't bad. He's 3,700 now, but this is a pretty good game environment, so I wouldn't hate looking his way. And I think that's going to be it for this video. If I miss a value guy, I do apologize. I have not ran my projections yet, so because I wanted to get this video out a little bit earlier, but I didn't see anything when I was just first scrolling. So as of right now, I think we got it covered. Love the mid-range, so that's what I'm looking to attack. If I can fit in an expensive guy, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But as of right now, I'm loving this mid-range, and I think you guys should too. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys had a great weekend, and yeah, see you in the next video.